Know what to expect from this episode after watching it last year. I mean, one of the reasons why I did not review this episode is because of the workload being overload in my December 2021 schedule. All the while that ever since I've been thinking about this episode in particular during the Christmas season of last year, it just gave me the impression that they want to give SpongeBob a Christmas episode because Camp Cola and the Patrick Star Show had a Christmas episode, so we should share the love of the show that started it all. But in all fairness, after watching that terrible Camp Cola Christmas episode, and even if I did not watch the Patrick Star Christmas episode, it's no surprise that I can guarantee you that this episode is the superior Christmas episode in 2021, involving the SpongeBob franchise, that is. Like, after watching Christmas Who and the stop-motion Christmas special, it really feels like that there's no doubt that SpongeBob is going to have another Christmas special that doesn't involve spin-offs. And if you ask me, the plot of this episode actually got me invested, considering that SpongeBob is the type of character that would want Santa to open his gift to him, but since that Santa was distracted by placing the gifts under SpongeBob's tree, he ended up knocking it behind SpongeBob's furniture. SpongeBob and Patrick go on a journey to the North Pole to see Santa, along with the gift that he's supposed to unwrap. And it wouldn't be a SpongeBob episode without Plankton, who wants to see Santa so that he can get the Krabby Patty secret formula. As usual, but at the same time, you know he's not gonna be able to get the formula regardless. When I first watched this episode, I couldn't take it seriously. It's mainly the fact that around the time we got the two spin-offs and things just isn't going to be the same, and it's just going to make things a lot more worse for the franchise. But that just mostly overshadowed the credibility from this episode, because I gotta be perfectly real with you, this episode somewhat impressed me, not to mention it really entertained me a lot more the more I rewatch this episode. One of the nitpicks that I have with this episode is that it has filler, but I just realized that this is titled SpongeBob's Road to Christmas. For me personally, if you have a title like that, even for a SpongeBob episode, it honestly rethinked my perspective of this episode, considering that this is a journey towards the North Pole, because I just realized SpongeBob and his friends never went to the North Pole whatsoever, which includes the last two Christmas episodes that I reviewed over the last several years. And to be perfectly honest, the critiques that involve the character designs being completely different shouldn't be an issue anymore. Like, when Santa made a cameo in Christmas Who, it was somewhat justifiable because it surprised Squidward, and in the stop-motion Christmas special, it was debatable because it was in stop motion. And for me personally, the only way if this show is ever going to get another Christmas special is the fact that it's gonna have a different Santa. But I'm honestly not that surprised. I mean, this is the third era of SpongeBob, and I'm not really expecting much involving the third era, aside from the fact that SpongeBob and Patrick are over the top, but not terribly over the top, like in the second era. Whenever I see SpongeBob and Patrick in this, I can instantly see SpongeBob as the much likable character, but when it comes to Patrick, even if he's not a selfish jerk like he was, it doesn't change the fact that he doesn't do anything other than just making visual gags and try to deliver the humor. to be real with you, the humor in this is always subjective, but for me personally, Patrick's style of humor has becoming a little bit overrated. I'm just saying, I've seen a lot of Patrick jokes from the earlier seasons that were much more timeless than this, and I understand that they're doing whatever they can to come up with new jokes and new facial expressions, but I still do not understand what children see in the third era if they enjoy moments like this. Speaking of facial expressions, let's talk about Santa's little helpers, the elves. If anyone's going to make the argument that elves are also humans, then you're gonna get the wish that humans breathe underwater, because I'm honestly dumbfounded that there are actually elves, real elves, that are skinned like humans, not as fishes, that can breathe underwater. I mean, I can understand Santa breathing underwater because he's magical, but when it comes to elves, I really don't know what to expect. I'm just saying, whenever I look at these elves, they don't feel like that they belong in a SpongeBob cartoon. I mean, they do fit well in the SpongeBob world, but the fact that we're getting the introduction of elves, even though that SpongeBob's goal is to head to the North Pole to give Santa his Christmas present to him, it doesn't change the fact that the elves themselves are mainly there just to add some conflict and adding time to the longer scenes of this episode. I know I'm being way too critical with the one time, but at the same time, it really feels like that Nickelodeon is still advertising this show by having longer episodes, by adding more one time, no matter what. And when I say one time instead of filler, I have to admit that the execution of the one time in this is much more better than the second era of SpongeBob. But the thing is, it really feels like that if you just cut it down to 11 minutes, you would miss nothing at all. It's one thing that this episode is focusing on the journey to the North Pole, but whenever I see a muscle reindeer who has an eye patch similar to Patchy the Pirate, I really don't know what to expect. I mean, I can understand that the reindeer must have gotten into an accident when it comes to carrying Santa's sleigh, but at the same time, moments like these are mostly thrown in, similar to the second era of SpongeBob, but at the same time, it's just randomness, but better than what the second era has to offer. Okay, moving past that, I have to admit that the transportation sequences, well, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Plankton are in Plankton's invention to get to the North Pole is somewhat entertaining, and for me personally, it really feels like that the less attention to detail in the character designs of this show, the better. Okay, I should really stop talking about the second era because you pretty much know what I'm referring to, but in all honesty, I really felt like that the transportation scenes are probably entertaining, especially the fact that the second transportation really shows that they're in the North Pole and they're freezing. When it comes to SpongeBob, this episode convinced me that this is the official third SpongeBob in the franchise. I mean, the first SpongeBob was a classic, the second SpongeBob was the third SpongeBob really feels like that they're giving him development and a heart, but at the same time, all he does is just laugh, which is honestly starting to become irritating if it wasn't obvious enough. And he doesn't say anything intelligent like he did in the earlier seasons. Like, in the earlier seasons, it works considering that he was fully aware of what is going on, but since that he doesn't have any of those qualities in this SpongeBob, then I can't be able to take him seriously completely. Like, I did find him enjoyable, but that doesn't automatically mean that I really, really liked him. When it comes to Santa in this, I honestly felt like that he is supposed to be a different character, which I mentioned earlier, for the sake of having a relationship with SpongeBob. Like, if you really think about it, did anyone ever send a Christmas gift to Santa in any of these shows? I mean, it's somewhat justifiable to think that that there was at least one show that has that before this. But whenever I look at this episode, and looking at this Santa in particular, it really feels like that they want to have this bond between SpongeBob and Santa by making a completely different Santa while having SpongeBob believing that Santa does exist. Except that this Santa is a different Santa compared to the Santa from Christmas Who. And if the characters were part of this episode, then they will probably recycle plot elements from previous episodes. Mainly Squidward thinking that SpongeBob is making a fool out of everyone, thinking that Santa doesn't exist, along with the fact that he's trying to do a good deed. It would probably be redundant. Like, at this point, he redeemed himself in the Christmas Who episode when it first aired 2 decades ago. There's really no point for him to do another redeeming quality. Anyway, the letter that SpongeBob gave to Santa is mainly his heart and soul into it. Like, I can easily tell that the letter he wrote was basically what SpongeBob would write, and for me personally, when anyone can write a letter, they will probably write the same style as SpongeBob. And I honestly felt like that this is why that this episode has been gaining more praise even after it premiered last year. I mean, if I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, the way Santa is portrayed in this, it's not a terrible portrayed, but for me personally, it really feels like they are probably desperate to have this bonding moment between SpongeBob and Santa. And I have nothing against it completely, because I adore these moments in other shows, but when it comes to SpongeBob, it's mostly a mixed bag. And for me personally, this isn't terrible, I just couldn't get into it. If I actually watched the Patrick Star Show's Christmas episode, after reading the plot synopsis, I would probably reconsider that Christmas episode is only there for the sake of cashing in more popularity on the SpongeBob Christmas episodes. I mean, the Camp Cola Christmas episode was terrible, but when it comes to the Patrick Star Show's Christmas episode, even if I did not watch it, I can say for a fact that the reason why it didn't work is because, like I said before, it's a spin-off of a SpongeBob show. If you really think I'm being way too critical on that, keep in mind, people are not getting over the fact that there's going to be more spin-offs along the way involving SpongeBob in the future. Regardless if Paramount Plus needs more content, it doesn't change the fact that you're becoming the next Disney Plus. Granted, my critiques have gotten in the way involving SpongeBob, but it shouldn't be a surprise that I always give critiques to one of the most popular shows that I used to enjoy. The more I see these plot synopses, and whenever I get the chance to watch these episodes, more critiques come up, and this is coming from someone who used to love SpongeBob. And for me personally, I can't say for a fact that this episode is a waste of time. It's good, but compared to Christmas Who and the stop-motion Christmas special, it's obviously in third place, but it's above the Camp Cola Christmas episode. And to give this episode credit, it's a tolerable Christmas episode. So, if you're interested into watching this episode, even during this time of year, then that's fine. Regardless if you had better options, Christmas Who or the stop-motion Christmas special, but still, I'm giving this episode a 6 out of 10.